So the video cuts off at 15 minutes, so here's the truth. As long as whatever you get here matches here, you're good to go. If this is wrong, then you either made a mistake here or here. Okay? So let's go on to the next thing. F of 5 equals 0, which means this is x minus 5. Always do the opposite. This is x minus 3. This is x plus 1. Okay? And it has to include the point 0, negative 5. Okay? So that means I have to find the value of a. So I'm going to take the 0, and I'm going to plug it in for x. And I'm going to take the negative 5 and plug it in for y, and then solve. So negative 5 equals a. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. 0 plus 1 is 1. So multiply those together. That's 15a equals negative 5. Divide by 15. A equals negative 1/3. So now that I have a, I can write the function in factored form first. Since it is an f, I have to respect the f. F of x equals negative 1/3, parentheses, x minus 5, x minus 3, x plus 1. That is my answer in factored form. Okay? I will give you bonus if you can tell me how that a affected the function. So you would say it's a vertical compression by a factor of 1/3, but if you write this, you get nothing, and a reflection over the x-axis. So get that, you get an extra 2 points. Okay? So if you don't do it, don't worry about it. So write it in factored form, check. Now I got to put it in standard form. There's no rhyme or reason as to what you should do first, second, or third, but I'm going to do the two negatives. I would box it out. X minus 5, x minus 3. I'd end up with x squared minus 8x plus 15. I take care of that last because it's a fraction. Then I multiply that by x plus 1. So I'm going to do a 2 by 3 box. X plus 1, x squared minus 8x plus 15. Multiply, multiply, multiply. I end up with x cubed, let's see, minus 7x squared plus 7x plus 15. Hopefully I did that right. Okay. Then I would multiply that by negative 1/3. Okay. And then my answer in standard form would be f of x equals negative 1/3 x cubed. A negative times a negative is a positive. 1/3 times 7 is 7/3. If you give me a decimal, you won't receive full credit. Negative 1/3 times 7 is negative 7/3 x, and 15 goes into 3 5 times. How do I know if I'm right? If you have time at the end, you'll set this equal to this, graph them both, make sure those are the x-intercepts, and make sure that's the y-intercept. Okay? All right, still in the calculator section, find the roots. So I know I'm going to have 4 roots, so I should have 4 answers. I notice they all have an x. And I don't like there being a negative in front, so honestly I'm going to divide by negative x, divide by negative x, divide by negative x, divide by negative x. I'm obviously not dividing by it, it just helps me for looking. Then I'm left with x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay? And now when I look at that, did I do that right? Nope. Plus 12. I knew something seed off. I can tell that this is factor by grouping. Technically, this is also factor by grouping because there's 4 of them and it'll work. Okay? But I think people will most likely see this path first. So ignore that, pretend it's not even there. X squared, x minus 3. This is plus minus, this is minus plus, so you take out a negative, x minus 3. There's the match. X squared minus 4. I can keep going. X minus 2, x plus 2, x minus 3, and then the negative x. So, my roots are 3. My root's negative 2. My root is 2. And my root is 0. If this is in the calculator section, what I'll probably do first is graph it in the calculator, get all the answers, write them over there, and then show my work and see if I can figure it out. Okay? All right, I want to point out that if this said x squared plus 4, x minus 3, and we had a negative x, I want you to see the difference in the answer. This would still be 3. That would still be 0. But this you would have to go x squared plus 4 equals 0, subtract 4, square root, x equals plus or minus 2i. So if it was graphed, you'd only see it crossing at 3 and 0, and then there would be, oops, I think I did that wrong. Yeah, sorry. Okay, it would only be crossing twice, but then the imaginary roots covered those. Okay, all right, let's turn the page. Find the zeros. Okay, so I can use the calculator. Find the zeros, get the answer. I see it's factoring. Two numbers that multiply to get 4 and add to 3 are 4 and 1. But, oh, it's kind of funny. This is applicable there. Okay? Just like I did in the last problem, I'm going to have to set that equal to 0. X squared equals negative 4. Square root, x equals plus or minus 2i. There's 2 of my roots. I have 2 more. X minus 1, x plus 1, x equals 1, x equals negative 1. If I wanted to, I could have just solved this like this. X squared minus 1 equals 0. X squared equals 1, square root, x equals plus or minus 1. If you solve it this way, this answer is acceptable. If you solve it this way, these answers are acceptable. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Degree 4, the zeros are x minus 3 bounce, x plus 2, and then an x for the 0. And the point, I shouldn't have been so messy here, that should be included as negative 1, so that goes there, and 8, that goes there. So I rewrite this as 8 equals a times negative 1 times negative 1 minus 3 squared times negative 1 minus 2. Where I took the x, plugged it in, took the y, plugged it in. Now I'm going to simplify. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, squared is 16. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. A negative times a negative is a positive. That's 48a equals a divided by 48. And that's equal to 1/6. So my answer in factored form is, it just says create a polynomial, so it doesn't matter if I put y equals 1/6 x, x minus 3 squared, x plus 2. If I have time, we'll graph this in the calculator, see if it crosses at negative 1/8 by going menu, trace, graph trace. To put it in standard form, I'm going to be boxing it out. It doesn't matter the order. I will do this box first, so I will focus on the x minus 3 squared, x minus 3, x minus 3. I box that out first. I get x squared minus 6x plus 9. I'm going to multiply that by x plus 2, so I'll box it out. X plus 2, x squared minus 6x plus 9, da-da-da-da-da. I get x cubed minus 4x squared minus 3x plus 18. I definitely could have made a mistake, okay? I'm just trying to make sure I get through the time. Then I multiply it by 1/6x. So let me repeat. I boxed this out and got that. And then I multiplied it by x plus 2 and got that. Now I have this left. So if this is a y, this has got to be a y. Y equals 1/6 x to the 4th. That covers the degree 4. 4 over 6 is 2/3. 3 over 6 is 1/2. If you don't simplify it, you're right, you won't get full credit, especially when you know how to do it in the calculator. 1/6 times 18 is 3x. Again, if I have a lot of time in my hands, I will graph this, and make sure they're on top of each other. All right, so that's the calculator section.